I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. But people are destroying them all. If only there was a way I could learn about them, or a class I could take. Apes!
So, now that you heard of apes, what now? Are you going to take apes and want a general idea on what to expect? Well, of course you do, or else you wouldn't be watching this.
No way.
Welcome to this segment of Apes. Apes actually presented extra speedy, or I will cover a brief but not limited to things that I found important to know for both STEM tests and the apes test. Although, general note, every single unit to some extent does go back to how human actions have affected these certain focuses. It's important to remember this when applying concepts on how we cause our problems or even think of possible solutions. 2. Okay, first things first, Unit 1, which covers chapters. I have no idea because the PowerPoint slide was deleted, but it's all about ecosystems.
Wow.
The most important takeaways are the ecosystem services and our human well-being. You also go over what habitats and niches are. But even more importantly, what we can infer about the state of the environment based off indicator. In keystone species, one of the most important rules you'll have to know is the 9-10 rule with energy transfer through trophic levels. You'll also know about the different prey and predator relationships. And the most important stuff, but most annoying in my opinion, is remembering all the cycles and what happens at each phase of the hydraulic nitrogen. Both of the nitrogen phases actually, and then carbon cycle, phosphorus cycle, and then the sulfate cycle. Remembering this is so important for applying your knowledge in future lessons.
Of bios, which covers 4 and 18 in the textbook. Honestly, compared to other content this important, there isn't as much takeaways, but it's still important. Here you'll learn about the layers of the atmosphere,
as well as global weather patterns including El Nino. You won't believe what this unit covers. Biomes? Shocker. But yeah, you'll learn about the different biomes both on land and water around the world and characteristics of each, including precipitation, climate, wildlife, and other things too. Now Unit 3, Population, covering chapters 6 and 7 of the textbook. This unit covers mostly population characteristics, including the rate of population growth and decline. You also go over different phases of succession. I believe one of the most important things are in case like the species. Be sure to remember those, including formulas about population growth. You also learn about doubling time of a population. You also go deep into developing and developed countries, which you'll need to remember to apply to future concepts in future generations. EA. Now, Unit 4, which is non-renewable energy, which covers Chapter 12 in the textbook. Basically, in simplest term, you'll go over different types of non-renewable energy like coal and the formation of coal in the ground. You also learn about how these resources are used around the world, as well as the pros and cons. Fracking is a big part to remember, as well as different reactors and nuclear fuel cycles. When about, you also learn about nuclear fusion and fission. It was something.
Is it gonna be forever? Or does the loop go down in flames? Boiling water reactor, was electricity worth the pain? Liquid metal fast breeder has 3 separate loops. Cause you know I love the reactor and you love the loop. Pressurized.
Now, Unit 5, which is renewable energy. Yay! Which is covering chapters 13 and 20 in the textbook. This unit is like last unit, but with, you can guess it, renewable energy. It's basically like last unit with energy that's renewable, going over the different test types as well as the pros and cons. Yeah. You also learn about biomass conservation, and the sustainable development goals, and guess in further detail, which you probably heard from growth production and entrepreneurship. Fun. Now you got Unit 6, which is covers water, chapters 9 and 14. Honestly, these last units are packed with info. There's so much to remember, but I bet you'll all do amazing because you guys get these study guides to fill out throughout lecture. At least that's what we got. Study guides are going to be your best friend on tests, trust. This unit contains information about the characteristics of water, the water cycle, and how it's classified. On top of that, aquifers are important to learn and know about, with addition to water use, scarcity, and pollution. last notable thing is definitely how it is treated and the stages of the treatment. Unit 7, chapters 15 and 19, they hold similar content to water. You learn about primary and secondary pollution from air, as well as indoor pollution. It is so important to remember the prior pollutant as well as the sources and the problems of each of these, which you learn later. It's important for when you apply these outputs to real-world problems, basically applying these concepts. Yeah, now we have, oh my gosh, we have Unit 8, love it, which is soil chapters 8 and 10. Honestly, this unit is probably the most important because there's so much content. I took so many notes for this section, and what I found important, let me read it all. Layers of the earth, plate, tectonics and boundaries, convergent boundaries, rock cycle, the components of soil, classifying soil horizons, different farming techniques, and no acts and protocols are so important. There's a lot of them in all the units, but there's a lot to remember in this one, so be sure to know what they are and how you can use it, basically. Our second to last unit is Unit 9, Food, Chapter 11. Honestly, I loved this unit because we made presentations and ate food for a project. It's so fun. Content-wise, you will learn mostly about the problems with food hunger and consumerism. You'll learn about problems with food hunger as well as consuming food around the world and food production. GMO, pesticides, insecticides, and organic crops are so important to know, as well as how we can handle any problems regarding these topics. A big takeaway are CAFOs. A part of cheap rabbit meat production is bad for literally everyone, both human and animal health. I don't know. Waste, Unit 10, Chapter 16 and 17, and oh my god, watch out. It's not as much information compared to like soil, but it's heavy info. About solid waste management, types of waste, landfills, incinerations, waste production, integrated waste management, and solid hazardous waste. There's a lot to know in general, but honestly, I know it sounds like a lot, but honestly, when you look at it from the grand scheme of thing, you got this. Definitely some recommendations is studying groups and quizzing each other is definitely helpful. Don't procrastinate, although I admit I am guilty of doing that sometimes, but don't procrastinate on studying and ask questions. And honestly, when it comes to remembering statistics that you're going to have to remember, I recommend making like acronyms because they're really helpful in terms of remembering like order as well as like what you need to remember. Making Kahoots and Quizlets are also so important, as well as flashcards. Flashcards are really good for remembering, for example, like vocab, because you need to, it is going to be important in all this vocab. Anyway, you guys got this. Good luck in apes. You guys got it. Bye.
I love apes.
What was your favorite project from apes?
I really like the Eco Column project.
My favorite apes project was the nuclear reactor video.
This year my favorite apes project was probably the Planet Money Buys Oil infographic, just because like we actually got to like learn something that like people did and like sort of go undercover in this massive industry and see how it works.
My favorite apes project was definitely the food project because we got to bring a lot of food in class.
What was your favorite apes unit?
Oh, I like the first one.
My favorite apes unit was definitely the foods unit because there was a really interesting project at the end where we explored different cultures and different people brought in different food, and it was really heartwarming, and it was like a gathering. I really liked that.
This year my favorite apes unit was populations, just because like we got to learn how environmental things like apply to like social problems. Also, for my ego, I did really good on that test, so.
My favorite unit was definitely non-renewable energy. It was really fun to do, and I liked all different types.
What was the hardest apes test?
The second one, yeah.
The hardest apes test was probably the waste unit because I think that was like the test where like everyone like kind of did trash on. It's kind of like, you know, yeah.
Probably air, just because there were so many things to remember.
I would say populations. The content was good, but the diagrams were kind of tricky on the test.
Was the AP exam hard or easy?
It was pretty okay.
It was definitely easy. I feel like Tesla STEM does a great job of preparing their students for AP exams and whatnot because they just give so much content, and yeah.
You know, it was really easy because we learned like more than we needed to know for the exam in class. So while the class like was a little bit hard, the test was actually really easy in comparison, so it set us up really well.
I would say it was pretty easy because if you just review all the units and take practice test before the test, and not procrastinate studying, then you'll be fine on the test.
Do you have any advice?
Google's your friend.
And if there's any tips that I'd like to give, I would recommend that you guys create a Quizlet and take good notes before the test, because that's one thing that I didn't do for some tests, and I didn't get the scores I wanted for some units. And also study the PowerPoint, because the PowerPoint is going to have every single content that's ever going to be on the test.
Study, study, study.
Cool.
And touch some grass.
I would say don't procrastinate on starting the study guide before tests, and start memorizing and learning the content at least like a week before the test, and you'll be okay.
Oh, hi. What are you listening to?
Oh, I'm just listening to the Module 57 of the apes textbook.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Why are you following me? I'm not.
Hi. What are you listening to? I'm listening to Little Uzi. What song? Cannabis Sauce.
Take apes.
Guys, make sure to take apes.
Take apes.
Take apes.
What happened?
I was up till 3 a.m.
Why?
Apes.